Welcome. You've joined us today for a recording that provides an overview on emergency planning. We're delighted to have you with us. This recording is designed to give you a broad understanding of what emergency planning is and how you, as an unpaid carer, would go about planning for an emergency. It's important to remember you're not on this journey alone. We're here to guide you through these challenges and help you get the support you need. So let's get started. In this session, we will be covering the following key topics. What is an emergency plan? Why, as a carer, emergency planning is essential. What key information should be included in the emergency plan, and who to share it with and where to store the plan. So who is the emergency plan relevant to? First of all, it's important to clarify who is a carer. This is a definition from the Carers Scotland Act. It says that a carer is an individual who provides or intends to provide care for another individual. Just to expand on that, if you are supporting a family member, partner, relative or friend of any age who needs help to manage a long-term condition, disability, physical, mental health condition, or addiction, then you are a carer. Who is the emergency plan relevant to? Well, emergency planning is relevant to all carers, irrespective of the age of the carer, the age of the person they care for, or the health, needs, or disabilities of the cared for person. Okay, so let's think about what is an emergency in relation to caring. An emergency can be an illness, a personal crisis, or an event which unexpectedly or at very short notice results in the carer being separated for the cared for person, and that can be on a short or a long-term basis. Here are some examples of emergencies. A funeral. This could be a family funeral, this could be a funeral of a friend. It's a funeral that you would like to attend and they're often at short notice. Transport delays. So any transport delays, now this could include on public transport, a breakdown or an incident on the road. Family illness. So this is illness of another family member or a friend. Admission to hospital. So this is sudden admission to hospital for the carer or a last-minute doctor or dentist appointment. Any type of personal incident that affects you, the carer, that takes you away from caring for the cared for person. Any illness or condition that results in you, the carer, not being able to support the cared for person. All of these are examples of emergencies. Why is emergency planning essential for carers? Crucially, we want to prevent an emergency becoming a crisis. We really want to ensure that carer and cared for feel less anxious about a potential emergency. Carers regularly report feeling anxious about what would happen to their cared for person in an emergency. When the emergency plan is completed, we don't need to feel anxious about events that could happen in the future. Knowledge transfer. As the carer, you are the expert in the care you provide to your cared for person. If something happens to you, That knowledge needs to be available and accessible to others to ensure that the person you care for is adequately cared for. Putting together an emergency plan is a great opportunity to have conversations with family, friends, and neighbours about the role that they could play in an emergency. Think about what would happen in an emergency if you didn't have a plan in place. Are there friends, family, neighbours that you would expect to step in? Are they aware of this? Have you discussed the individual's care needs with them? Also, how would hospitals, police, social work, or whoever comes across the emergency know who to contact and how to contact them? It's important that we have all the emergency contact details in one place, and that can put everyone's mind at rest. The emergency plan. Let's have a look at an example of an emergency plan. This picture is an example. Different local authorities use different plans, but they all include similar questions asking for the same information that would be important to you and your cared for in an emergency. The plan here was designed by Enable, and this is the plan our Edinburgh team at Vocal use. You can find a PDF and Word copy of this plan on the Enable website. The plan can be downloaded and completed online, or you can print it off and handwrite it. The website also has further guidance and a toolkit. Details of where to find that plan online are in the notes under this recording. If you don't have access to their website or have difficulty using an online version, Vocal can help you to complete it in whatever way is easiest for you. Just to summarise, an emergency plan sets out the practical arrangements for short-term, unplanned circumstances when the carer is unable to fulfil their caring role. Let's look at what information is included in the plan. What can you expect to find in the plan? So first of all, personal details. This would be basic personal details including name, address, date of birth, telephone numbers. It might also include next of kin and whether there is a guardianship order or a power of attorney in place. It's important that this information is on the front page so that it can be seen by health professionals quickly. Needs of cared for person. So this section is going to include information around their personal care, mobility, vulnerabilities, triggers, and strategies. Information that you might want to include in this section would be specifics around, for example, whether your cared for person is able to shower by themselves, what support they might need in relation to mobility. Do they have a walking stick? Do they forget that they have a walking stick? Do they get tired from moving around or standing up? Vulnerabilities could be if they struggle with money or have difficulty crossing the road alone. Triggers and strategies would be in relation to things like noise, smells, and their routines, etc. Routine. So this section will be broken down into days and time of day. This is where you can include information about your cared for person, like what time do they wake up, what time do they eat, what time do they take medication. Perhaps they go to an activity once a week or watch certain programs at certain times. Emergency contacts. This section is for all details of your emergency contacts. It is advisable to have at least one and a maximum of 4. An emergency contact can be someone that takes responsibility for temporary care of your cared for person, but it can also be somebody that takes responsibility for calling professionals to organise support. It can also be someone who has trusted access to KeySafe or to administer medications. Health conditions. So this section of the plan is going to include details of any physical or mental health conditions, allergies, and information on medication, including where that medication is. Dietary requirements. So this section should contain all important information in relation to any specific dietary requirements, whether they follow a particular diet or anything else in relation to food preparation. This can also include information about any support they might need at meal times, such as whether they need to use a bib or require their food to be cut up. Communication. So this section helps you to explain, does this person use an alternative communication method? For example, British Sign Language. What should the person who is caring for them in your absence be aware of? Are there things that they should or shouldn't do or say? Finally, there's a section on useful contacts. You should detail who you have shared this plan with. For example, other emergency contacts, GP, social worker, or relevant health professionals. As you can see, this is a comprehensive overview of your cared for person's life. This means that whoever this information is passed on to has all the information they need to ensure that your cared for person is supported in a way that both you and the person you care for is happy with. Sharing and storing the plan. This is a suggested list of agencies that you could share the plan with depending on relevance. Emergency contacts. You will need to share the plan with the emergency contacts you have named on the document. Cared for persons GP. If you feel this is relevant, you can share the plan with your GP surgery. Social worker. If applicable, you can share it with an allocated social worker. Also, any other relevant health professionals such as professional carers or support workers that are working with your cared for person. Services, clubs or activities. If you think it's relevant, you should share with any services your cared for person is in contact with. Emergency Carers Card. Depending on your local authority, there may be an Emergency Carers Card scheme. You can complete this information online and link it to your Emergency Carers Card scheme. If, for example, you were identified as a carer by an emergency worker, then social services would have direct access to the emergency plan in the event of an emergency. Your emergency plan should be stored somewhere where others can find it easily. This might be pinned to the front of your fridge, or some people like to put the plan in an empty bottle in the fridge, as this is where professionals might look for medication. Getting help. You can speak to Vocal. We have a team of carer support practitioners at Vocal who can give advice and answer any questions around your caring role. They can also help you to complete an emergency plan and talk about what else might be helpful for you and the person you care for. We mentioned the carer's emergency card beforehand. So Edinburgh Council offers a free carer's emergency card to unpaid carers. To apply, you can fill that out online or you can contact Social Care direct. Details are underneath this recording. You can also book events and training for unpaid carers. Vocal delivers free courses, events and activities for unpaid carers. Events and training are here to help you learn about various conditions, improve your skills, care for yourself, get the right support, plan for the future and get some time for yourself. They're also a great way to connect with other unpaid carers. You can book these events and activities online or by calling us directly. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. If you have any additional questions or need further assistance, please don't hesitate to contact us using the information provided on this slide.